Hi, Ellen. Hi, Harold.
Maria, where were you for Yontif?
Morro Bay.
Whoa, that sounds nice. That's up north,
It
right?
was. It's 4.5 hour drive.
Oh my God! Wow.
It was very nice.
Isn't there an aquarium up there?
No, it's the big rock in the water.
Oh,
Okay, we're on Sadiq Ahmed Aleph. We're dealing with the sugya of do the Chachamim have the ability to be oiker something minat Torah? So we said that if a young girl is married off by her mother or brothers to a kohen oichelas begino truma. Well, how could that be? It's if the kiddushin is omid rabbanon, how could she eat truma d'oraisa? Is it an example where the rabbanon are oiker something in that Torah? The Gemara says no, but truma d'rabbanon. She can only eat truma d'rabbanon because the marriage is only midrabbanon. So the Gemara is going to bring proofs. Torshma. Achal truma tmeya. A person ate truma that belonged to a kohen. It happened to be truma tmeya. So mishalem chulin tohorim. They pay back chulin tohorim. If shilem chulim tmeim, see chulin tmeim, he can only eat that during a period of time when he's tamei. So it's not as useful as chulin tohorim. If he did that by accident, tashlum of tashlumim, we say he's been paid off. But if he did it b'mezid ein tashlum of tashlumim, it's not considered as he been paid. But v'choyzer mishalem chulin toharim. As a knas, we say that the initial payment, it belongs to him. But he has to pay more chulin toharim.
Who does he pay to the Kohen? It's not worth anything to the Kohen. If it's truma tamea, the Kohen can't eat it.
Nobody could burn it.
So that Hana, is that all he has to pay? The value of the burning of it?
That's why the maker then he should pay chulin toharim. It's only, and then if it's chulin tmeim, that he can benefit from because he can eat chulin tmeim when he's tamei. The Yisrael who ate this can never pay off truma, can never pay truma tmeim because he doesn't have truma. He only has chulin, so he only has the option of giving chulin tohorin or chulin tmeim.
So the question is, what value does he have to give to the Kohen? Just you say only for if it's truma, if the truma itself is tummy, it'll never become tar. It's just the coin that's Tomei.
But it does have value to the coin because he can burn it.
So that's the only thing he has to pay him. He's paying you back the value that he took away from him.
That's right. That's right.
Okay.
V'avina baba mezid, Chachamim said, "Ein tashlum of tashlumin." It's not considered that you paid him anything. Now, what do you mean ein tashlum of tash? Tavol of bracha. If he paid him the mezid chulin tmeim, he should be happy. Because the Achamine needed l'chazile. He ate truma tmeya that the coin can't do anything with. Be made tumas. V'kamashal needed the chazile. Be made tumaso. By paying him chulin tmeyin, he can use it during the period of time that the coin is tamei. Amar Rava, Amar la kedi. Chasrim mechzer v'achitani. Achal truma tmeya. If a person ate truma tmeya, mishalem kol dehu. You can pay anything back, even with chulin tmeim. Achal truma tohira, mishalem chulin tohirim. If he went ahead and shilem chulin tmeim, sumchus amishrav meir b'shoygek tashlum of tashlumim. B'mezid ain't tashlum of tashlumim. It's not considered like you paid him. V'chacham amir bein b'shoygek bein b'mezid tashlum of tashlumim. But as a knas, choyzer mishalem chulin tohirim. Now, v'hahacha dimidaraisa tashlumim al yahavi. Mida Raisa, when Sumchus said, "B'mezid ain't tashlum of tashlumin," Mida Raisa, it's a perfectly good tashlumin. And if the coin goes ahead and uses that, the Makadish B'hu Koyin Isha, they use that value to be Makadish and Isha, Tafsalo Kiddushin, because it's considered money of the coin. But Amar Rabbanan ain't tashlum of tashlumin. But by the halacha that you say it's not considered payment, therefore there's no value. Kasharina neishes ish la'alma, midaraisa it's neishes ish, and you're going to say she can go marry anybody because the kiddushin is not a valid kiddushin. Midaraisa is a very good kiddushin. It seems like the chachamim are oiker adavim and Torah. So the Gemara says, "Ma'ayin tashlum of tashlum in the Rab Meir the boy lemahadir shalom chulin tohirim." It means he has to go back and pay him chulin tohirim, but that which he gave does have value. Then what's the difference between sumchas and rabban? What's the machlokes between sumchas and chachamim? Am Ravacha ben Ravika kansu shagi got to mezi it could be night. Sumchus will be koines. Shogi got too amazing. Chachamim will not. Toshma. Dam shenitma. You have a korban. Before you did zrika sadam, it became tomei. Uzrakoi. Nevertheless, the kohen did zrika sadam. B'shogeg. If the kohen didn't know it was tomei and he threw it, hortza. The bailim get kapara. B'mezid lo hortza. If he did it b'mezid, he doesn't get kapara. Freik the Gemara v'ha'acha, midoraisa artsui midoratze. No matter what, shogig or mezid, minatora there is kapara. The Tanya, al mohat tzitz meratze. The kohen got a war at tzitz on his head, and what does it do? It is meratze al adam, v'al abosar v'al achelev shenitma, bein b'shogig bein b'mezid. If either the blood, the fats, or the meat became tamei, and you threw it on the mizbech, whether you did it b'shogig, whether you did it b'mezid, bein b'oinus, bein b'rotzon, bein b'yachid, bein b'tzibur, minat Torah, it's mechaper. V'ami rabbanon lo hurtza. Now, if the chachamim say lo hurtza, you have to bring another animal to the azara, but the guy is not required, so you're bringing chulin to the azara. V'kahadim ayal chulin lazara. Which again, the Chachamim seem to be oiker something minat Torah. Amrav Yosef bar Chanina, Milo Hurtza de Kamar. What do we mean by Hurtza? They get kapara. It's lahatir basar bachila. Normally, before you eat meat, you need to do zrika sadam. Here, we don't matter the meat to be eaten. Ava bailim is kaprubo. but the Bailim get kapara. Sof sof kamisakra achilas basar. The Chachamim are getting rid of the achilas basar. Uksiv v'achlu esam asher kupar b'hem elamit shakwanim oichlum valim iskaprim. The eating of the meat is tied into the kapara. So how could the Chachamim say that they shouldn't eat? So here's an important principle. Omer le sheiv al taisa shayni. They're not being oiker with an active maisa. They're telling the coin sit and don't eat. That's not an akira biyadayim, says Rashi. It just happens. That's the same thing, for example, lulav on the first day of Sukkot, when it's Shabbos. They tell you, sit, shave al tight, don't bring the lulav to shul. And you're not makai mitzvah lulav. But they do it b'shave al taisa from this source.
Yeah, but that was oiker doraita.
Oh, so we see from here, the Chachamim have the koyach to do that, b'sheiv al taisa. Then Chachamim, there is no example where they tell you to do an active lav against the Torah. But if there's a mitzvah saseh and they tell you sit quietly and don't do it, that they're allowed to do. Chachamim are allowed to be oiker, a asay min haTorah b'sheiv al taisa. Omer lei, so Rav Chizda, who had brought all these kashas, said, I wanted to ask you from Orel Hazah Ismail Sadin B'tzitzis Kivsi Atzer Shoifer V'lulav. Let's look at Rashi. Orel. Domer b'psochim. A porish min ha'oila k'porish min ha'kever. After being circumcised, it's like you became tummy. Gershon is Gayer Erev Pesach. So what about a ger who had Mila as part of his conversion Erev Pesach? Ein shoichten alav. You cannot shech the korban Pesach for him. Amar b'gemara time of the Beis Hillel. Gzer shemi yitam l'shana abod. Alma mishum gzer drabonim avatin lemi Pesach. But again, they do it b'sheiv al taisa. They say, don't shech for him. Hazar, shvus, for example, sprinkling paraduma ashes is midrabanan osran Shabbos. V'lesa lo b'Shabbos elisud drabanan. And let's say somebody needs hazar on Shabbos, and it's for Erev Pesach. The Chachamim say it's a shvus midrabanan. It's not doichem Shabbos, even though you're going to come to be mavatal mitzvah saseh of eating korban Pesach. The izmil gabi milam rabbanan ein mevinos derech gagos v'karfifios. Let's say there you can only bring the mila knife through a rabbinic place that you're allowed to carry rabbinically. Even though it's mila bismana, you're not allowed to carry it. Chachamim are oiker mila bismana b'sheiv al taisa. Sadin b'tzitzis. If you have a linen baguette, you're allowed to put wool tzitzis. Midaraisa, it's permitted. However, gozer rabbanan mishum ksus laila. We don't allow you to do it nor because a lot of night shirts are made out of linen, and ksus laila is potem not tzitzis. Kivseat seres. If you shech kivseat seres shaloli shma, you're still allowed to throw the blood, and you can eat the meat. Now, if it's Shabbos, and Shavuos is on Shabbos, and he shechted it shalol lishma, we don't do the zrika. Now, doing zrika is only a Shavuos. And yet we say don't do the zrika. And the Shavuos Rabbanan of not allowing you to do the zrika, you are violating the mitzvah saseh of kivsei atzeres. Of course, shoifer v'lulav we know. We say Gzeira Shema Yavirenu Dal Ramis. We don't take the shirt from the lulav. So Rav Chizda wanted to ask him all these kashas. Hashta the Shanislan Shev Al Taisa Lo Me'akaru Kulanami Shev Al Taisa Ninus. All of these are also examples of Shev Al Taisa, so it's not a kasha. Toshma. It says by a Navi MS, a love Tishmo, you shall listen to him. Afilu Oimen Lecha Avor Allah has become mitzvah Shabbatorah Kagon Eliyahu Bar Carmel. Eliyahu Bar Carmel was makriv a korban when there was an Isser Kores to be makriv a korban outside of Beis HaMikdash. It's not the time of the Bamas. So Eliyahu was not allowed to do that. There's an example. So the Navi can tell you to do something even against the Torah. Akolafi Shah. If it's Oirah Shah, Shmaloi. So the Gemara now has a proof. This is not Shev Al Taisa. This is Biyadayim. You can shech. Shiny awesome to chsive love tishmo. It's a special pasuk that says you have to listen to him. V'ligmer minei. Why don't we learn from there to other places? Migdir milser shiny. So here we get a ha'ara. When Klal Yisrael is doing something that it needs a takana, and for example, here, Klal Yisrael had to be marchik from Avodah Zarah. So you could be oiker at dvar min haTorah b'maisa if there's some kind of real threat to the integrity of Klal Yisrael. Toshma. Bitloi mevutal divrei Rebbe. Person gives a get, and he sends it with a shaliach, and he decides to be mavatal the get. Now, how does the woman know that he was mavatal it? She's going to go and get married. The Rebbe says, it doesn't make a difference, it's mavutal. Rav Shimon Gamliel Omer, what do you mean? No. You're not allowed to be mavatal. Imkein makoch based in Yofa. Because Bezdin said not to made Xera not to be mavatal. If you say it's mevutal, then what's the koyach of Bezdin? And the Bezdin did it, made that such a takonim. Otherwise, the women won't know. They'll get married, and she's still a nation because the divorce, the get was nizbatel. Now, here it's just the Xera midrabanan that it's not mevutal. Midaraisa bottle get. The get is midaraisa bottle. Mishumakach based in kosharina neshus ish la'alma. She's still a neshus ish midaraisa because the get was butal, and yet she can marry neshus ish. It sounds like the chachamim are being oiker dovar min haTorah. Versus man de mekadesh, I died to drabonim mekadesh. All of marriage is al das chachamim. We say, Harayat Mekudesh Asli Kedas Moshe v'Yisrael. So Vavkinu Rabban LeKiddushin. They went ahead and they were Mavkia the Kiddushin. And therefore she was not a Neshus Ish. Omele Ravina Ravashi Hatinis Lekadosh Bekaspa. Fine. We learned yesterday, Bezdin Hefker Bezdin. Hefker Bezdin Hefker. So if he used money as the Kesef Kiddushin, so they can be Mavatal it. But Kodesh b'biyah Michael Meimar. One of the ways to do Kiddushin is biyah. How could they be mevatel the biyah? And for the Gemara Shavi Rabbanan lebilos or bilaznus. They say that the biyah that he did was a bilaznus, and there's no Kiddushin. The kinyan that the biyah does, they can be mevatel. Toshma.
How do we know that a man, does he come and say, I'm being Mekadosh you with this biyah?
Yes.
Is that we tell Bezdin?
Yes.
And Bezdin allow it rather than so he tells them ahead of time? Is that what it is?
Oh, because they wouldn't allow it. They would give him malchus. When he comes and tells them, they give him malchus.
So, but a derisa though, derisa, what's the case of derisa? The man comes to Bezdin and says, I was Mekadosh here with biyah?
So you see, but the chachamim in certain cases, have the koyach to say that that bia was not a kinyan and it was a bia's nus, and therefore it's not a kiddushin. They won't do that in every case. In this case, where they made the gzeira that the get should be muvutal, they were oiker the kiddushin. And if the kiddushin had been made through bia, they make it a bia's nus. In other cases, they'll say, no, it is a kiddushin.
That's not a sheva altase. That's not just say that. That's they're mavatlet. They're giving him makas, and they're doing everything which is not a sheva altase of orker a deraisa.
No. So the answer to Walter is here. The kiddushin was never all kiddushin is al das chachamim. It's not midoraisa. Every kiddushin we do, it's up to the chachamim to say it's a kiddushin. So it's all in the hands of the rabbanon. It's not like the other cases where there was mamish a doraisa, like the korban pesach. Here, every case of nesuin and kiddushin is al das chachamim. So he's not violating a doraisa here. That's
okay. Yeah.
That's different here.
Okay.
And in fact, you see so far, the Gemara has not brought any proof yet that the Rabbanon can be oiker something midaraisa actively. We've shown that they can do it b'shev al taisa, but so far it's been unsuccessful to show that the Chachamim can be oiker, except for Elio, except like we said by Elio, like there by a Navi, if there's a Hoyrah Shah,
but it's a Harashah, but a Harashah that reverts afterwards.
Correct. It's by Harashah where he saw that
it reverts. It's just for the time period.
For the time period.
Whereas the Chachamim, it never reverts.
Right. Hakol Fisha. Right. So right now we don't see any example where they were oiker something actively that lasts permanently. Correct. So far, that's what we do.
So if a woman is mazana, it's only drabanan and she still gets skila. If he commits adultery, it's not a deraisa. Then how do rabbanan have a case where they can kill her?
But Elazar, the koyach to be mafkia kiddushin, it's only going to be in certain cases, like in this case. They made a halacha that a man who gives a divorce cannot be mavatal the divorce, because we're so the chacham say, the Rabbi Shimon Gamliel said you can't do it. Midaraisa, he can do it. So she's an Eishes, and you're so in that case they're oiker the kiddushin. But in a case where she's mezaneh, she's an Eishes midaraisa, and they're not oiker anything.
Even though everything was done al das bezin, every kiddushin itself.
But the marriage, she's an Eishes midaraisa, and anyone who's mezaneh with her will be put to death. It doesn't change the fact that I hear what you're saying, but the chachamim can have the koyach to be oiker.
Only certain cases,
only we know the case of Rav Moshe Feinstein in the Holocaust case. Husbands came back. He was oiker in one or two cases.
I see.
Only a gadol ador can do that.
Okay.
Toshma. Amar Rav ben Yaakov. Shomati shebezdin makin v'oinshin shaloim min haTorah. Bezdin are given malchus and punishments, not min haTorah. V'lo lav al divrei Torah. El lasos siag l'Torah, to make a fence. U'ma'aseh b'odem echad sherochav al sus b'Shabbos b'mei Yevonim. Somebody was riding a horse during the Greek times. V'evyu lebezdin uskalua. Now, riding a horse is only a rabbinic. It's not also min haTorah. Yet they gave him skila. Lo b'nei shiroi lekach, ela shashah tzrich lekach. Another example of hoyrah shah, because they were mezalzel be'isur Shabbos, so their bezdin had the koyach actively to do something against the Torah. They killed him, even though it was not chayv misa. B'shuv ma'aseh b'odem echad, sheitiach be'ishto tachas ha'te'ena. A guy in public had relations with his wife under a fig tree. They gave him malchus. There's no malchus, no Isser Torah of this. So they gave it to him. There was preachers going on in all of Klal Yisrael. So they wanted to show a lesson. Migdar Milsa shiny, right? To show a lesson, the same answer they gave by Eliyahu Novi by Hara Carmel. This is a very important sugya we learned tonight. Very important. Because it comes into play when every Rosh Hashanah where we don't blow the shofar, every Sukkot where we don't bring the lulav, that's this sugya. Okay. We're talking about, right? First husband went to China. Hi, Jerry. And one aide said he died. She got married. And then the husband came back. So we say that neither can go to her funeral if they're Kohanim. Minola. How do we know that? You can only go to the funeral for a relative. Omar Mar, Sheira Zu Ishto. Uksiv lo yitama baba mavlechalo. How do we reconcile the two psukim? Shalom aleichem Yaakov. What? Okay. So, yesh bal shemetame, maybe yesh bal shemetame. There's a husband that's metame, and there's husbands that are not. Haketzad. Metame u'leishto kshem. A regular wife who's kosher is he can go to the funeral. Eino metame leishto psula, who was mazaneh, married the other guy as an Eishasish. Normally, a husband keeps anything that his wife finds in the street. In these cases, they don't. So they shouldn't fight. If the wife would be able to keep things she finds, the husband would be jealous, there'd be fights. So we say that the wife has to give everything that she finds to the husband. Here we want them to fight because we say Teitzeh Mizeh Mizeh. So to encourage them not to stay married, we allow her to keep what she finds. Also, whatever she earns at work, the husband keeps. It's a payback for the fact that the husband has to provide mezonos for his wife. So she gives Maisi Adai. So since she doesn't get mezonos either, she keeps her Maisi Adai. V'lo mefer nedarea. He doesn't mefer in the dorm. She might make a neder that makes her ugly. She might make a neder, I'm not going to put on makeup. And that potentially could make her ugly in his eyes. Here, we want her to be ugly in his eyes. We want him to divorce her. Okay. Stop here.
How was your yontif?
Very.